Mr. Bozen?
Here.
Mr. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Morrissey?
Here.
Mrs. Klein?
Here.
Mr. Foyce?
Here.
Mr. Greider?
Here.
And Mrs. Jewin?
Here.
Right. Thank you. For our moment of silence, reflection, prayer, whatever, let's keep our hearts and minds in Minneapolis and throughout this country for all the acts of brutality that is taking place across this country. I just ask that your heart and mind and your prayers are with Floyd family and the many others. All right, thank you. Right now, I'd like to ask the pledge be led by Chief Fitzgerald.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dave, have I ever told you that's a nice chair?
Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Jewin.
Okay. Motion to approve our agenda as presented and the minutes of the June 1st, 2020 regular session as proposed and the minutes of the June 2nd, 2020 special meeting as proposed.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. First on our agenda is a proclamation for LGBTQ Pride Month. And there won't be anyone present, but I want to thank Mr. Greider for putting this forward to the council. It says, whereas the struggle for dignity and equality for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning people is reflected in the tireless dedication of advocates and allies who strive to forge a more inclusive society. And whereas President Bill Clinton on June 2nd, 2000 declared June Gay and Lesbian Pride Month to commemorate the 1969 Stonewall Uprising in Lower Manhattan. And on June 1st, 2009, President Barack Obama expanded the commemoration further by declaring June to be Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month. And whereas June 28th, 2020 marks the 51st anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising, which broke out following a police raid on a Stonewall Inn targeting LGBTQ patrons and other marginalized people in violation of their civil rights, leading to the birth of the gay rights movement. And whereas LGBTQ Americans, including those who live in our local communities, face discrimination simply for being who they are and for who they love, and there remains much work to do to extend the promise of our country to every person. And whereas on April 9, 2009, the landmark Iowa State Supreme Court decision, Barnum versus O'Brien, unanimously guaranteeing marriage equality for all Iowans was historic, making Iowa the third state at the time to recognize full marriage equality. And whereas the landmark Supreme Court decision of 2015, Obergefell versus Hodges, guaranteeing marriage equality in all 50 states was a historic victory for LGBTQ Americans and continues to affirm our belief that we are all more free when we are treated as equals. Now, therefore, I, Quentin Hart, Mayor of the City of Waterloo, do hereby proclaim June 2020 as LGBTQ Pride Month. And Mr. Greider, do you have any comments?
Just that
we know in these troubled times that the long history of our nation has been one where minority groups have not always been accepted, and it seemed appropriate to remember as we're struggling with treatment of minority groups to also honor our LGBTQ plus brothers, sisters, and siblings, and recognize that their struggle is a struggle that many people share here in Waterloo and across the United States. And we just want to lift them up and show that we see them right now.
All right, thank you. All right, we have oral presentations now. It's your opportunity to address the council on non-agenda related items. And I believe we have Mr. Forrest Dillevue on the line. So can we please unmute the gentleman so he can prepare his comments?
Mayor Hart, I believe he was signed up to speak for public hearing item number 2.
Oh, it's not on here. Okay. All right, so we will come back on item number 2 for you, Mr. Dillevue. One thing, if I could just make a quick comment. Chief Fitzgerald and I, next week, he will lay out a presentation. I think it was important after our conversation last week, before wholesale changes made, to at least let him say hi to the police officers. So he had laid out about a memo, and he's going to make a presentation to the city council on how he's going to get input from staff, the community, and from council. He's also going to lay out some of the changes that have already occurred, which is some of the things that we've been seeing people advocating for. And we will have that conversation next week. So you'll be able to ask him questions as well. So a very aggressive agenda. But before we get pull him in too many different directions, I think it's important for him to kind of hear how he's going to extract and get information and move things forward and get your input as well. So that will be next week. He will be making that presentation. Is there anyone else that would like to, is there anyone in the audience that wants to address the council before we go to council? Council, any comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Boza.
Thank you. I just want to make a quick comment. Saturday, the Southdale Neighborhood Association had their neighborhood cleanup, and we had a person from the sanitation department and a garbage truck out here. It was from 9 to 11. We had a constant flow of vehicles, and if you don't belong to a neighborhood association, I really encourage people to get together with their neighborhoods and sign up, because it's one of the perks that's offered to neighborhood associations. And the annual cleanup is offered to every neighborhood association that signs up for the date. The gentleman from the sanitation department was incredible. He unloaded every truck. He worked with us for 2 solid hours, and believe it or not, we filled up an entire garbage truck. So I just wanted to thank him. I want to thank the sanitation department and Randy for all they do, and Felicia Nell Smith for everything she does for the neighborhood associations.
All right. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Morrissey.
Mr. Mayor, I prepared something, so I'm going to pretty much read it, but it's going to be somewhat lengthy, so I just ask for your and the council's indulgence to allow me to finish this, okay? Okay, Mr. Mayor and council colleagues, I ask for your indulgence for my following prepared comments. We need to move progressively forward for the betterment of our human community. Most communities have a police department, ours being no exception. What we see and hear nation worldwide is not lost on Waterloo. I do believe in the public safety. The police are public servants whose job it is to provide a service, the same service to all in any community. Individual wages and benefits plus department budgets are paid for from public dollars, not private or corporate funds. The people are the backbone of any community. We eat, sleep, work, buy, sell. The police are there to serve us and maintain the peace as peace officers. If trouble erupts, the public expects officers to restore that peace, not incite, mistreat, abuse, nor deny anyone human and or constitutional rights. All too often, though, peace has not been restored, especially so to my brothers and sisters who don't don the pale skin like mine, but wear centuries of scarred, burned, stretched, mutilated, and targeted flesh. With that, I, without reservation, call upon the Waterloo City Council to act in the following 12 ways. First of all, pass a racial profiling ordinance, which includes bans on racial profiling and on pretextual stops, mandates yearly data collection and release of that data to the public, creates a Waterloo Citizen Review Board under the auspices of the Human Rights Commission with independent authority, and next has graded training of all public safety workers on implicit bias de-escalation. Secondly, the council should immediately pass the Racial Equity and Social Justice Toolkit review of all proposed programs, projects, policies, and budgets as an ordinance. Next, immediately pass a Human Rights Disclosure Review and Recommendation Ordinance mandating the release to the Human Rights Commission complaints on any public servant or peace officer's behavior with any person in the course of that public servant or peace officer's work. Next, ensuring that the Griffin is removed from all city vehicles and within all departments. The Griffin is seen by many, especially within the African American community, as a symbol of violence, hate, and bigotry. Number 5, taking legislative action if necessary to remove all obtained military equipment, vehicles, or weapons in our possession by donating same to the National Guard, and no further procurement of those same items. Number 6, taking the legislative action if necessary to defund 9 positions in our current police department, and instead using that money to hire 5 social workers who are licensed and skilled in confrontational and conflict de-escalation and resolution, 3 licensed psychiatric social workers skilled in aberrant, aggressive, and mental health behaviors, and 1 working supervisor, with all answerable to the mayor and to the human rights director. Number 7, establishing through ordinance a policy that no peace officer or worker be hired who has a past history of domestic abuse, assaultive behavior, or racially hateful, bigoted, or prejudicial behavior or remarks on social media. Any city public servant found to have been involved in same-sex hired should be immediately fired for just cause. And number 8, adopting the hashtag 8can'twait policies immediately, and those, without going over them, are found on the internet. Number 9, passing a resolution demanding that Governor Kim Reynolds first immediately sign an executive order returning voting rights to all persons who have done their time. B, taking executive action eliminating the privatization of Iowa's correctional facilities. And next, seeking legislation establishing a $15 an hour minimum wage, and finally establishing that the hashtag 8can'twait policies to go to our state public safety officers as well. And number 10, passing a resolution banning the use of any chemical gas, bullets, flash bombs, etc. on peaceful protesters exercising their free speech rights. Number 11, having discussions, actual discussions in work sessions about what occurred up in Minneapolis, like defunding current public safety as we know it. Number 12, finally, I've served on city council for 6.5 years. There have been repeated calls for us to do something about gun violence, again affecting people of color disproportionately. Not once has anyone suggested any matter of gun control. no discussion about banning assault rifles, no discussion about banning high-capacity magazines, no discussion on bump stocks and the like, no discussion about requiring sales to include fingerprint recognition products, both for new sales and for those older models as well. Proliferation of guns is a problem. What I have discussed, in my humble opinion, is aimed at real change for myself, for all of us, and I ask for your serious consideration, Council. I have never, nor will I ever, face what a person of color has endured for centuries. I am angry inside at what people of color, people who are not white nor entitled, have and continue to be subjected to. I ask you, fellow council colleagues, are you willing to act? Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council.
You're muted, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Morrissey, and some of the suggestions that you have, you will be greatly surprised next week. So as we continue this discussion to make real change. So thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to comment?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mayor.
This is Jewin.
Yes, I have two quick things. One is a reminder. I mentioned it last week, but I want to bring it to your attention again, that the Fair Chance Initiative educational presentation will be on Wednesday, June the 17th at 8:30. People can register at the city website, and I am pleased to say that as of last Thursday, we already had 50 people signed up. So there is quite a bit. We just announced it on Thursday and on Friday. There were 50 already. So pleased with that. And then secondly, and I already mentioned this during our work session, but I think that Main Street needs to be commended. Because of the virus, my Waterloo Days was not live, but they truly took lemons and made it into lemonade. They did an amazing job having a city festival go viral. The parade was terrific. What I thoroughly enjoyed were the lip syncs. And while Tavis Hall won, and congratulations to him, it can't go without notice that our very own mayor is now aspiring to be a hip hop star, and he did an incredible job. So again, thanks to everybody, and congratulations to Mayor Hart for doing such a great job.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Greider has volunteered to participate with me next year. So I see Pat over there smiling too. So Patty's in it too. So we got to come up with something.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Amos.
I just wanted to kind of piggyback on some of the things that Councilman Morrissey was talking about. I'm really happy to hear that it is coming from someone other than someone who looks like me as far as some of the initiatives that he is talking about. And I do look forward to being able to sit down with our new police chief, have a conversation with him. But one of the things that I want everyone to remember in this process is we all have to work together. We all have to come up with solutions that are going to work for all of us. So it's just a matter of, like I say, I am looking forward to the opportunities that are going to be coming forward for all of us.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Ms. Jewin, you're on mute.
Okay, motion to close oral presentations, receive comments, and place on file.
Second.
That motion has been made with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Presentation's closed.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the addition to 1A1, the dollar amount of $4,716,055.08 to receive the agenda, approve, and place on file.
Second.
A The motion has been made with the second. Council conversation. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bozen,
Yes.
Mr. Amos,
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey,
Yes.
Mrs. Klein,
Yes.
Mr. Foyce,
Yes.
Mr. Greider,
Yes.
and Mrs. Jewin.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Could someone take number 2, please?
Mr. Mayor,
Morrissey.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and file proof of publication, notice of public hearing on a request by Saad Osmic to rezone 0.945 acres of property located at 122 Black Hawk Road from C2 Commercial District to CP Planned Commercial District with conditions to allow for a truck repair and truck terminal business.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, were there any comments on file?
There were no comments on file, and this would be the item that Mr. Dilvu would want to speak to.
Yeah. The floor is yours.
Yes, sir. Mayor, members of the council, Forrest Dillaboo, 1725 Huntington Road. I own a property near this business that's been operating. I would like to encourage all of you to hold off until you've looked at this property and the way it is properly cared for today. There is a dismantled vehicle there, an inoperable vehicle, lean-to on the building that's made out of plywood and tin. If we are going to be expanding that type of stuff, it would be a negative to not only the property that I own, but the rest of them in the neighborhood. I have talked with code enforcement. They said they were working on trying to keep that area in good shape, and I know they are because I did have to go over and help the renter over there clean up one of my properties. And I would like you to consider that before you vote on approving this. That is it.
So, Mr. Dillaboo, so are you saying there's code violations, or is there one truck? I hadn't seen or heard this, so what's going on over there?
Okay, there's a semi-tractor, big long semi-tractor dismantled in parts laying on the lot. There's a lean-to on the building that's made out of tin and plywood, which I'm sure does not conform to the Waterloo building codes. And there's a van there and some other miscellaneous parts are on there outside of the building.
So if those things are cleaned up, you're in favor of it?
Well, if it's not going to expand or be allowed, I'm not sure the zoning change, if it's going to allow dismantled vehicles there in that area or not.
Okay.
And I would also like to know the hours of operation of this. My renter said that they seem to operate very late at night down there repairing semi-tractors.
All right.
That's the only one I need an answer to is what are their hours of operation?
Noel, do you happen to know the hours of operation?
Well, Anderson, Community Planning and Development Director, I do not have the hours of operation at my hand. I'd have to find those.
You know what they are now? I don't, probably not.
Mayor Hart,
Mrs.
are you a business?
Malkley.
A representative with the business is in the audience and would like to speak.
All right, please approach the podium.
Hi,
State your name and address for the record.
my name is Mateja Potočnik and I'm fiance of Esad Osmic. We purchased the building about 2 years ago. Before we purchased it, it was, like you heard from the other neighbors, it was horrific. It was stuff everywhere. We cleaned it up. There's no garbage, no nothing. There is a semi truck out there that is being used for parts, but it can be moved if it needs to. The van that is out there, it's actually our van. It's registered and everything, and it's drivable. It's parked over there, and there's nothing else out there. We do work usually from about 7 to 4. What that place is used is for dispatching. Two of our kids are working in the office. They dispatch trucks. The trucks do not come here often. They come here maybe once every 2 weeks. One of them will stop. We have only 5 trucks. So they're always usually on the road. If they do stop by, maybe about 6 o'clock p.m., the owner will go out just to double check everything's fine with the truck, and the truck is on the way.
All right. With regards to things on the outside of the building, you have any responses for that?
Is that for me? Oh, for the outside, the semi truck, he can probably get. Šta ćeš sa njim kamionom? Yeah. He's using that truck for parts. It is put onto the side of the building. The little shed or that was mentioned, that was built prior we bought the building, so I don't know what that is. There was a windstorm and it did blew the one side off, which the owner is working on fixing that. But everything else, I don't think there's anything out there. Everything is cleaned and mowed. There's no garbage. There is absolutely nothing. Besides the van, there is some bricks out there on a pallets that is from previous owner. They never came and got them. We actually cleaned that all up. Nobody else from before that they were there. And the neighbors, what they said that that's the best that the place ever looked since we bought it. Before it was a mess. And there's quite a few pictures that you can find online how it looked before.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any questions? Well, any other comments? And then we'll turn it over to council after we close the hearing.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, this is Noel. Oh, Mr. Morrison, let me just point out real quick, at the May 5th Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of it unanimously with conditions. Number 1 is what they're talking about, no outside storage other than licensed and operable vehicles and trailers. Number 2 is the property has a tree buffer along Paul Avenue and Janney Avenue, except for openings of a maximum of 40 feet wide at the 2 driveways. Number 3, all maintenance and repair of vehicles is to be done inside the building. Number 4, that hard servicing be installed on a portion of the property as shown on the approved site plan. And finally, number 5, that the northern entrance along Janney Avenue be closed and the tree plantings be placed across the existing opening.
All right. Mr. Morrissey.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing and receive and file oral comments and the recommendation of approval of the Planning, Programming, and Zoning Commission.
Second.
That motion has been made with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is closed.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to receive, file, consider, and pass for the first time an ordinance amending ordinance number 5079 as amended City of Waterloo zoning ordinance by amending the official zoning map referred to in section 10-4-4, approving a rezone of certain property from C2 Commercial District to CP Planned Commercial District with conditions located at 122 Black Hawk Road.
Second.
The motion has been made with a second. Council discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Amos?
You're on mute, Mr. Amos.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
There
Yes.
we go. Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
And Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
The motion has been made with a second. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
No.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
No.
Mr. Bozen?
No.
And Mr. Amos.
All right. So I'll come back again next week. Number 3, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Foyce.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing, and that is for an amendment to the 2019-2023 Community Development 5-Year Consolidated Plan and Citizen Participation Plan.
Second.
A motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now open. Are there any comments on file? Mr. Jones, Mrs. Felkley, any comments on file?
No comments on file.
Rudy. Go ahead, please.
Go ahead, Rudy.
Rudy Jones, Community Development Director. Mayor and Council, we did not receive any, and the purpose of this is to make way for usage of the CARES Act funds, and due to the amount, we had to make the necessary changes to our annual plan.
Right. Right. Any other comments? Audience, Jones, or Mr. Jones, anyone?
Yes, we encourage people to stay in touch with our website, where we'll have a lot of the necessary documents for people to apply for those funds. Download and get those back to us, and hopefully we can turn those around and get those resources into the community as soon as possible. If they've got any questions, they can call the office or email us, whatever works for them. We still have limited access to the building, but if anybody would have questions about how to access those applications and funds, please get in touch with us.
All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing and receive and file oral comments.
Second.
Motion been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion for a resolution to approve the amendment to the Community Development 2019-2023 5-Year Consolidated Plan and revising the Citizen Participation Plan to receive and administer Community Development Block Grant funding made available through the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act for prevention, preparation, and response to coronavirus, including a 5-day comment period.
Second.
A motion has been made with the second. Council? Madam Clerk?
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
And Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Could someone take 4, 5, and 6, please?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Amos.
Number 4 is a resolution approving amendment number 1 to a professional services agreement with MSA Inc. of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, originally executed March 25th, 2019, in an amount not to exceed $7,000 in conjunction with the traffic study of Ridgeway Avenue from Kimball Avenue to Highway 63, and authorizing the mayor to execute said document. Next is a resolution approving supplemental agreement number 2 to a professional services agreement with Wayne Clausen Engineering and Surveying Inc., originally executed September 3rd, 2019, in the amount of $3,600 in conjunction with the fiscal year 2020 Brock 3rd Edition Lots 2 and 3 Sanitary Sewer Extension Contract number 986, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said document. And last is a resolution approving a professional services agreement with Vanderwall and Associates for fiscal year 2020 through 2021 in the amount of $72,000 in conjunction with continued work on downtown Waterloo planning efforts, redevelopment design, riverfront development, and funding opportunities, and authorizing the mayor to execute said document.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. I think we have Vanderwall on. the line for item number 6. So Brian is available if you have any questions. But council, questions on 4, 5, or 6?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Morrissey.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, regarding number 6, I see that item number 5 on their one of their attachments, they talk about the courier block, and I'm just wondering if that is being addressed any differently than in the past. The courier block and the old Montgomery Ward's building have a historic preservation significance. And I would hope that any planning for that would take that into consideration very strongly. I would be opposed to tearing historic buildings down in interior Waterloo, where a repurposing of those buildings can be accomplished given the appropriate developer. And then the next thing with that is in the past 2 times that we have talked regarding Vanderwall and Associates, we have brought up the need for them to diversify and start including the north side of the river in the plans for downtown Waterloo and inner east side or north side area. And I don't see anything even close to mention of that. And I'm wondering why not?
Question, Mr. Morrissey. Mr. Vanderwall, you began the process. Can you speak to Mr. Morrissey's comments about the north side and some small parts of redevelopment?
Yeah, Lupita, are you on? Lupita?
I'm on. Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay, that's Lupita Alvarez. She's working with the mayor and Mr. Morrissey. We heard loud and clear the last time the council approved a contract that we should get on the north side. So Lupita, can you put up the City Central initiative that the mayor?
Yeah. Can I get permission to share my screen?
Sure. Oh, who?
Chris.
We're working on it. You should be able to now.
It's there now.
There we go.
Okay, so, since the last time we addressed council, we heard loud and clear, and with this whole, economy we're in, the virus thing, it's trying to focus on a central area, where people are currently working, like where Habitat's working, where Jim Walsh and David Deeds are working, and realizing that Deere has an initiative going on, and so does TechWorks. So the idea of creating this sort of walkable, bikeable, live, learn, where we can take East High kids, because you can't, transportation is a huge issue in the education system, and we need tradespeople, and we're rebuilding a neighborhood, and they can intern walkable or bikeable in the neighborhood. They can, and Deere's initiative is advanced manufacturing, to get kids to be interns, from the high school, and working with TechWorks, additive manufacturing, 3D printing, and this is, actually the mayor's leading this, Nola Michelle, Rudy is involved. And, you know, our big issue is you had so many things going on in separate, you know, maybe people not necessarily understanding what other people are doing. And, you know, so the mayor's initiative, the Live Learn initiative is, you know, trying to bring all that together into a city central targeted area. And it includes the Walnut Street, the Church Row, TechWorks, Deere, with their TechWorks with their advanced manufacturing initiative, and how much time do we have, Mayor?
You gotta. I think Mr. Morris is kind of getting the crux that he gave us marching orders, and we start marching as he asked us to do. So can I add a point? So when the 24/7 Wall Street was released, I sat down with some Deere officials, and they came over and they said, well, what can we do? How can we've been here all these years, the community's been good to us. How can we partner for the community betterment? So we discussed about 2 to 3 different areas, 4 areas, and they are still in the processes of ironing out the role that they're going to play, and that can include resources, initiatives. And so as Brian had mentioned, you had a whole lot of synergy and things working in different places. So we wanted to get to the point where we're able to put together some type of vision. We know that federal level, there'll be resources. So we're trying to get projects and be ready and start to put forth together something tangible that council can grab. So we're kind of working these pieces to come back to all of you to see how we can be in sync, how we can start putting all these pieces together and partners on board to be able to do it. So this is taking a look at it, because you shouldn't come to City Hall and a block outside of downtown, God bless them, but you'll see houses that are in deteriorated conditions. So we want to take the center and then work out from there and have live-learn neighborhoods where people could shop, they can live, they have all the amenities that they need to have right in those areas. And if we take that and we build from there, then we can continue to expand out to the whole community. So a lot of moving parts, and we're just now trying to get our hands around it so that we can come back to all of you and figure out how we're going to move forward on this. So we got your marching orders, and we've been trying to work on that inner core as well.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I was just wondering if Mr. Vanderwall could address the Courier Block and Montgomery wards.
What building is the Montgomery wards for our gentlemen and folks that may not have been around here at that time?
It's the corner where the Courier temperature and time sign. This is the basically attached portion that is like 2.5, 3 stories tall, and it has the corbelling of that at the top of it. That's the old Montgomery Wards building.
Brian?
Yeah. You're renovating the convention center. There's a hotel across the street, and these buildings have been vacant and they're getting blighted. The roofs are going. Your local architectural firm tried to occupy it and, found out that it's just not cost feasible to do it. But I think if you guys want to do it, this is the time. And definitely it could be incorporated. But it's going to be a money issue, and there's also a pollution issue because this was an old printing company, and we definitely know that there's lead-based ink in the buildings, and we're working with Noel to do a site assessment with the EDA money, or not the EDA money, the US EPA money that you got, the grant. And you're working with the Waterloo Development Corporation to try to work with the current property owner to get acquisition or a price, an offer to purchase, so that the environmental can be done on it. And if it works out, Councilman Morsi, we work with whatever the political momentum is. And I think we need to realize the other thing is put up the roadmap issue. You're poised to go after, and the mayor and Noel and Michelle are working on this, tens of millions of dollars. The Congress, the U.S. Congress, is debating somewhere $3 trillion budget. And so the things you want to accomplish in terms of revitalization are, the mayors and Noel and Michelle are teeing it up right now, because that money is going to start coming down the pipeline real soon, 2 months. And it's going to be first come, first served. And your community is totally poised. You have issues in terms of the food supply system, which is a high priority. So from a national point of view, the courier block, and what we want to do with it, what you want to, and the bridge lighting, the bridge repairs, the Veterans Walk, the 5 Southern Brothers Plaza at the convention center remodeling. This is your time, seriously. So again, Councilman Morsi, whatever we need to do, we'll need to do it, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. And I think a rule of thumb is, all communities with federal resources and state resources, we have our entitlements, and it's divided up based upon your population and demographics. And we know those. I think Rudy just brought some ideas from that in his consolidated plan portion. But those communities that are with the plan, with the vision, that are aggressive, will position themselves to be in a very decent situation, even though with all the challenges we've had locally. So we just want to be prepared. We want to be thinking 10 or 15 steps ahead to try to maximize any opportunity that we can leverage for our community. So any other questions, anyone?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor?
Let's go to Mrs. Jewin and Mr. Morrissey. We'll round back up with you.
Okay, I just have a request. I would appreciate having copies of that map that you had of downtown and document that goes through the different funding and different projects. Can we have copies of those?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Keep in mind, these are all drafts, and this is our vision, so we don't want our vision to be someone else's revision. So
I appreciate that. No problem.
All right.
Mr. Mayor.
Sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to request, if it's at all possible, to tour the Courier Block building, including the old Monkey Wards structure. Is that possible?
Dave, how about that?
This is Brian. What we need to do is get access to it, and your city attorney has offered a purchase between WDC and what's his name, the owner, Lapita
Carver Jr.
Yeah, Roy Carver. And so tomorrow there's a meeting with the downtown working group to decide exactly who's approaching, how it's approached. But you can't get access until we get the owner's agreement. And then Knowles got this money from the US CPA for site assessment. We need to go in there and get an owner's agreement to send in environmental engineers to determine what the cost is, what the problems are. And so, yes, I think, Councilman Morsi, I think, you know, as a part of this, we'll definitely get access to the property. But you should start talking to the architectural firm that wanted to move in there.
Is it safe?
Huh?
Is it even safe to go in there? We can find that out.
Right, I don't know. You know, I would definitely wear a mask, given the construction period of that. So, but yes, Noel will determine when and if we can go in there.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Other questions? Madam Clerk, roll call vote on 4, 5, and 6.
Mr. Foyce,
Yes.
Mr. Greider,
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin,
Yes.
Mr. Bozen,
Yes.
Mr. Amos,
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey,
Yes.
and Mrs. Klein.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Brian and Lupita. Number 7, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
number 7 is a motion to receive, file, consider, and pass for the third time and adopt an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waterloo, Iowa by enacting a new section 5-2-14, pedestrian safety, use of medians.
Second.
All right. The motion has been made with the second. Any conversation, council, or anybody in the audience?
Mr. Mayor?
Morrissey.
I would just like to ask, I was looking at that map of all these various intersections that have medians that are part of this ordinance. And I'm just wondering, at those stated intersections, people are allowed to stand alongside the roadway at each of those intersections, aren't they?
Marty?
Martin Peterson, Legal Department. Yes, this ordinance does not prohibit standing on the side of the street.
Okay, thank you. And then the second question I had was having to do with the description and the language, making it a simple misdemeanor. And I was just wondering if the offense, wouldn't it be better? I mean, I'm not going to go over all the issues that I have with it basically being a panhandling ordinance, but you know, if somebody is seen there, wouldn't it be best to just have them move to the side of the road? And if those same person returns, they're given a warning, and then this become a municipal infraction offense with a maximum for first offense being like $10 and second and subsequent being $25 with an option of community service, like someplace at the Salvation Army, Catholic Worker House, or some other, community service.
So, has there been a fee scale set up yet?
Your Honor, or Mr. Mayor, there's only a reference to the general misdemeanor penalty. That's in the front part of our Code of Ordinances. So no, there is not.
Could that come back at a later date and be added, or it doesn't make a difference?
Yeah, and typically if it's a misdemeanor, a magistrate would impose a fine, and there would be a range of fines.
Can that come back later and be switched to a municipal infraction, that Mr. Morrissey mentioned?
Yes.
Okay. All right, other questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Greider.
I, in the last few meetings, have stated my opinion, so I won't belabor the point. But I do want to let my other council members know that I will be bringing 2 amendments on this if it passes tonight. One, moving it from a misdemeanor to a municipal infraction, and then one, equalizing language on the width. So if this does pass, which I'm guessing based on last week's vote it will, there will be some amendments that I will be offering next week because of concerns that I have on those 2 issues.
All right, thank you, Mr. Greider. Is there anyone else right now? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Greider?
No.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Bozen?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
No.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, Mr. Morrissey, dang it, my fault. I missed something.
Sorry, I back up. I rescind that.
No, it's my fault. I missed something earlier. June 11th at 4:00 at Sullivan Park will be a meet and greet by the chief for those that want to attend. It's 4:00 June 11th. We'll send out emails to you all. Sorry about that, Mr. Morrissey. Please proceed.
Can I interrupt before he does? In the light of you forgetting something, Mayor Hart, I also forgot something. And I just wanted to question why the meeting was changed, that we're going to meet on June the 29th instead of July the 6th. I just wanted to know why.
Yeah, June 29th, that would have been what?
The 5th, Monday.
That would have been 2 weeks in between the end of the year bill payments.
Okay.
We wouldn't have been able to pay any bills for a couple weeks.
Okay.
And we have a number that need to be paid for by then, as well as all the calculations that are being done for loss of revenue during that time. So this will be probably a fifth Monday like we haven't experienced. before, and things need to take place. So please apologize for not sending that out and explaining that to all of you.
And it's not a problem for me. I will be in northern Minnesota, and telephone transmission ability is often pretty sketchy. So I might not get to join you then, but know that I'm in a safe, clean, wonderful place instead.
All right. Sorry about that. Mr. Morrissey, without further delay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say
We're done.